I feel like I was trying all the, proactive and just all the things that were advertised that could help acne. Nothing ever really helped. I just bounced around and tried to find things that would work. So it was nice to work with somebody who knows what they're talking about when it comes to the skin and knows what triggers it. So about halfway through the program was when I really started to feel that turning point. I started not wearing makeup, which I had never done before. I feel like I never went out in public without makeup on. So that was just amazing to be able to do that.
It's not just about clearing your skin up. It's about truly giving you the confidence in your life, because we know that confidence shows up in every role we play as a mother, as a wife, as your job as a teacher. Like when you have that confidence, everything shifts. You know, some of my favorite podcast episodes, Cris, that we ever get to record are the ones where we get to talk with our clients, because not only do we get to talk to our clients, which is so lovely, and hear about their journey and their story, I love that other women get to hear their journey as well. Because for so many women out there, they think I'm the only one. I'm in my 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, whatever age you are. I'm the only one that's 35 that I know dealing with acne. When is my acne ever going to go away? I've had kids, I've done all of the things, and yet my acne still persists. So this is why I'm so excited for Lauren to come and hang out with us today. Because Lauren, you're in your mid-30s, you got 2 little boys, you've done all the things, and you have been struggling with acne. How young were you when you first were struggling with acne?
Probably, I would say high school. I've just never had great skin, but it actually got worse the older I got. And after kids, it got worse also.
And I'm curious, did you ever hear that line, oh, when you're older, it'll get better, you'll grow out of it?
And I kept thinking, like, I'm 30 now. Like, why is this still happening? This should not be happening to me. So I knew that there was a cause that I had to figure out what it was.
I know, and that's the thing, right? Is everyone thinks it's just a teenage problem, but there's so many women, millions of women that struggle with chronic acne every single day. And this is why I'm so thankful, Lauren, that you came to share your story, because I know there's going to be a woman out there being like, oh my gosh, Lauren's story is my story. I'm not the only one dealing with this. And also have that knowing that they can clear up their skin. Because when you were still dealing with your acne, how was it impacting your life? Like, how was it impacting your day to day?
I hated going out. I didn't even want to go out in public. I avoided, events, gatherings, parties, just because I was so self-conscious about it. Or I have to cake on the makeup just to feel comfortable enough to go. When you have acne and then you go out in public, you feel like that's what everybody's looking at. They might not be. That's just how you feel. I feel like it led to depression. I was just unhappy, just could never get that confidence that I used to have. Being a teacher is a stressful job. Being a mom is a stressful job. So I feel like that just added the stress. But, the acne has always just been my biggest stress, I feel like, in my life, because it's been such a struggle. Every morning, I would wake up and feel my face. Like, do I have more bumps or a new breakout? It was just a constant. I was just running the race of trying to beat the acne. And it was just I could never get to the finish line.
So for you, Lauren, what were some things that you had tried? Because I know you came in, like you were trying medications, taking supplements. Like, tell us kind of the journey of the things that you had tried over that almost decade and a half you had acne for.
The very beginning of my journey, I feel like I was trying all the, proactive and just all the things that were advertised that could help acne. Nothing ever really helped. I just bounced around and tried to find things that would work. But later on, as I got older, I worked with an esthetician virtually, and I saw some results, and I feel like, okay, I'm finally working. But then I had my second kid, and after I stopped breastfeeding him, my skin just went crazy. I mean, the worst it had ever been. I didn't know what to do. So I cut out dairy, cut out, sugar, all those things. But nothing ever really worked. I did get on medicine. I got on spironolactone, and that did help for a while. But, that is a Band-Aid, as I've learned. And eventually it just kept coming back. So I tried all the creams, all the things, and nothing just really worked until I've been working with you.
The fact that you had such a journey, and Cris, like we see this with so many of our clients, right? They've done all of the things, the medications and the diet and the removing and all of that.
I did a hair test, or I had done that before, and I did a blood test. I did blood work. but they weren't specialized in acne. So I feel like I never really got anywhere with that. So it was nice to work with somebody who knows what they're talking about when it comes to the skin and knows what triggers it.
Because I don't know about you, like, when you try the spironolactone and then you get off and then you're like, "Oh, yeah, my skin," and then it comes raging back, and then you go back on it, and that cyclical cycle of that codependency, right? Did you ever feel that it's like, "I will not have clear skin unless I continue taking spironolactone?"
Yes, and that was really the one thing that I kind of saw results from. And I knew, in my head and my heart, I did not want to keep taking it. But it was like, okay, I either quit taking it and my skin is awful, I'm depressed, I can't go out, or I take it and I try to work things out. So yeah, you feel like attached to it. And I don't want to feel attached to that. So it was nice to find other avenues that I could do instead of the medicine. And I worked with a dermatologist also, and they were the ones obviously who recommended the medicine. And they were just like, food is not going to make a difference. What you're eating, those things don't matter. The medicine is what's going to help. It was frustrating because deep down I knew that I really don't think that's true, but it's hard when you're working with those professionals who they do know what they're doing. So that was difficult during that kind of stage. But I've been able to wean off the medicine and I have not had any breakouts or flares. And I was just amazed that that could happen because I just knew when I quit taking it that, my acne would come back. And it hasn't. So it's crazy. It's amazing.
I love that. I love when you're able to wean off. You're like, oh my gosh, the work that I did actually worked for myself. And, having tried a lot of things, right? You cut things out, you tried the esthetician, like you tried it, all of that. What made you really want to be like, okay, well, let's give the clear skin solution a go? What was the breaking moment for you?
I've always lived a very healthy lifestyle. I have always thought that I had a very healthy diet. Nothing made sense to me. Why is my skin like this? I knew that it was something internal that was happening, and I could not figure out what it was because I've always exercised. I've always eaten whole foods and things like that. I never went completely gluten free or dairy free or anything like that. But I felt like I was eating healthy. I was fueling my body with good things. So I just knew there's something is wrong with me internally that I can't see. And I needed help figuring it out. I think I came across you probably on Instagram and I kind of went through a rabbit hole of just looking at all of the other women who have had those same issues. And I was just drawn to you and your honesty. I felt like you knew what you were doing, and that's what I needed. I knew that I needed someone who specialized in acne because that was my main issue, and I wanted to find out the root cause. I didn't want to just keep putting band-aids on. I was ready to figure out how can I fix this forever.
Yeah, and it's tough, right? Because you're like, I've tried so much, I want it to work, and I need to figure out the root cause. But I love that for you, had like this deeper knowing that I know there's something off, and I just haven't been able to fix it the right way. So when you come to join us in the Clear Skin Solution, you get the hair trace mineral analysis. How did you find the comparison from the previous hair test you did to this?
So the first hair test, they kind of just gave me some vitamins that I needed to take, told me kind of what I was deficient in, but it wasn't skin focused. It was just kind of a general hair test. And I do think that it was beneficial in some ways, but it really wasn't helping me with my root causes of what is actually causing my breakouts. And when I did the hair test with Clear Skin, I feel like it was just so tailored to exactly what I needed. You guys knew, like, well, this is what we need to do, and this is how it's going to fix. Going to fix it.
So, Cris, now is the time where I know you're dying to bring up her HTMA to share, like, what were those imbalances that Lauren hadn't been able to quite get on her own that we had to walk through for her skin to clear up?
Yeah, well, revenge of the copper. Copper loves Lauren, so we wanted to simmer that down for sure. That's one of the minerals that grossly goes undetected or under the radar because it's a secondary mineral. However, women with acne, women with hormonal acne, because I mean, what woman doesn't think it's hormonal? It's always around my menses, right? Like, and of course, it can get worse around your menses, right? Because all the hormones start shifting, the body shifts. So I'm not discounting that, but essentially is we need to clear out that copper, secondary mineral or not, women with acne, it's a big deal because a lot of people just want to do the zinc and we might not even be able to get in with zinc right away, right? That might be like a way down the pathway, but at least we know that, hey, if we can't get in with zinc, how do we get in? Oh, let's go look at vitamin A. Let's see the active form. Let's see how that we can help that. We can support with potassium foods. And like, so these are all the things going through our head. And which was interesting is because, Lauren, you're like, yeah, I've always been a clean whole food eater. And then we see things like tin and aluminum. And we're like, oh, we got some sources in here. So let's get rid of that static because even a deficiency in magnesium can open up the window to aluminum. So, yeah, with the HTMA, it was interesting to see that we could have even potential water sources or we could have potential interference, I would say. I wouldn't say it was the pinnacle of everything in there, but rather the deficiencies in the minerals that opened up the vessel for the heavy metals just to play, right? And once we start going and isolating and knowing the relationship between the minerals and buffering it, because I'm sure you came in, even though you were doing the things, we were like, hey, we kind of need to go here. Hey, we need to calm down this inflammation. Hey, we need to open up the pathways. Hey, and somebody coming in that has taken care of themselves and that is on the right terrain with foods and stuff like that. How did that make you feel when we gave you, you say, your first protocol, which had a lot of symmetry to what you were already
Right.
doing?
Yeah, it really wasn't too difficult when, since I'd been eating really healthy. I was taking zinc before, I thought I was doing the right thing because that's what everyone said to take. I was doing digestive enzymes, and things like that. But my coach helped me figure out that, okay, this digestive enzyme has this one ingredient that we really don't love for you to have. So it was so interesting to opened my eyes to be more aware of those things. Even though you think you're doing the right thing, you really need to read those labels. But I really loved my first protocol because I was able to cut out those, big inflammation triggers, gluten, dairy sugar. And it was difficult at first at family events or parties and things like that. But it became such a second nature to me that it becomes how you live. Instead of thinking of it as a burden, I thought of all of the results that I've been getting, and it just makes it so much easier to eat that way. And you feel better. And I honestly felt really good before. I thought like there's no way I can feel any better than I already do. My energy levels were good. But after these protocols, I felt better, happier. I didn't have bloat that I don't think I really realized I had before until after I started with the supplements and things like that. It really just kind of opened my eyes like, oh, I really wasn't doing as much as what I thought I was doing.
That right there, right? As much as I thought I was doing it, who taught you how to do it differently? I have a quick question though, because you're like, when I went places or navigated social events or family, how did you show up for yourself? Because this is often you see the community group, these types of things. This is one of the most repetitive question we get. It's like, oh, I'm going here. What do I do? How do I say it? How did you show up for yourself, knowing that you were feeling better, which is really interesting because you have a couple markers where it showed low mitochondria in your HTMA. And you're like, hey, I felt great. And then as you started doing more and balancing more, you feel even better. You're like, how is this possible? It's because one, we don't know the difference, right? And two, we just keep going. So back to even the original question is, how did you navigate for yourself? How did you show up? What were the conversations you were having with people? Just that's a really big one. And I think everybody listening was like, hey, I could really benefit for that.
That was definitely the biggest struggle. I feel like I could eat, the way I was supposed to follow the protocol, but going out to social events around family and friends was definitely the most difficult. And since I've always kind of been a healthy eater, a lot of my family and friends just kind of expect me to eat a little differently or to not eat certain things. So I feel like they didn't really question it. They kind of tease you a little bit. But I just would kind of be flat out honest and I would just say, I'm not doing gluten right now, so I'm just going to eat the burger without the bun. Or, I'm staying away from sugar, so I brought strawberries or fruit. I would always bring a healthy option to make sure that I had something that I could eat. But I was just honest that if people didn't bring it up, I really didn't bring it up either. A lot of times people, you think that they're noticing those things, but they don't. They're focused on themselves and what they're doing. So unless people kind of asked about it, I would just do my thing, eat what I could. I would always focus on the protein. And almost any party, or event I feel like that you go to, there's usually always a source of protein, a burger, chicken, something that you can eat there. So I would focus on that protein. A lot of times I would kind of have a pretty hearty snack before I would go. So I wasn't like starving. So then I could just kind of eat a little bit at the parties, and then maybe have another snack after. So I was just making sure I was still fueling my body so I wasn't starving and hungry. So to where I would make those bad decisions and try something I shouldn't have. But it really became easier and easier to navigate those parties because you kind of look around and you realize, okay, there are some things that I can have. I think it's important to focus on things you can eat instead of always worrying about all those things that you can't have. But I've also found myself too as not even wanting those things anymore. Like because I feel like I have a sweet tooth. Um, and those sugary cupcakes, cakes, cookies, all those things I didn't really care to even have. So that was definitely a good change also.
Now, I gotta know because we all about transparency, and I want people to really understand the journey. So, throughout your time with us, was there any obstacles or challenges that you found along the way or felt, and how did you work to overcome them?
My coach was Jenna, and I feel like I could be really honest with her. And really, the only obstacles I found were those social events. This past summer, I had a bachelorette party, and the day is all about the bride. And we went out on a boat and supper that night. They were going to order pizza. So like I messaged Jenna and I'm like, I'm worried about this because I hadn't had it. It was towards the end of my I had been in the program for probably 4.5 months, maybe even more. So I was like, I haven't had gluten and dairy and all those things in so long. So I was so worried about it. And she gave me some really great options of, pizza places have things like wings or salad. Maybe you could ask if anyone else wants to order those things. You just always kind of have to weigh those options. But she said, if that's all that's there, have a bite of the pizza. She made me feel like I've come this far. I put in the work. You can't always be 100% perfect, as much as we try to be. So those were my main obstacles. I do also live in a small town, so finding kind of the variety of vegetables and foods was more difficult. I had to order a lot of things. So that was kind of another obstacle, but with everything that we have at our fingertips online, it worked.
So I find it's a lot easier these days to make substitutions and to eat healthier than it was even 5 to 10 years ago.
I felt like before I was eating healthy, but I was eating so many of the same things over and over again. So at first, that was kind of difficult for me. They suggested not eating the same meal more than 3 days in a week. So that was tricky because I would meal prep one meal and I would eat it for 5 days. So I realized like my body's really not getting the variety that I need. I tried a lot of different things that I never really knew existed. Like rutabaga. I made rutabaga fries, just different things like that that I had never considered having before. So now I feel like I eat so many other different things than what I was eating before.
I mean, certain foods can even help get out heavy metals, which is so liberating that we don't have to always do heavy detoxes and chelation and things like that. I mean, sometimes we have to, but in your case, like how wonderful that you were able to build on already existing and still learn from it. Be like, wow, there's a whole new world out here. Yeah, that was hard. Well, because it was new. So I'm just going to open it up. I'm going to look at variety and rotation. I'm going to keep building on it. I'm going to reach out to my coach. Reaching out to your coach is probably 90% of the battle when you're in your head about something, right?
And I felt like my second protocol, that was really the difficult one where you were really cutting out, like potatoes and just so many things, flours. And that was really the challenge. And I remember reaching out to Jen and be like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I can do this. Like this seems so intense. But she gave such great advice and she just kind of stressed progress over perfection. But in the end, I was able to do it. And I feel like I didn't have slip ups because I just loved how I felt. And it became easier and easier.
So I got to ask the question that everyone always wants to know is when did you start to really see the shifts in your skin and what is your skin like now?
I would say it, I feel like at first, the first couple weeks, I feel like my skin was really good when I had started. It cleared up. I was like, whoa, this is amazing, And then I had a flare up. Um, and I think it was just like my coach explained, it's just kind of getting it out. It's getting all that bad stuff out of your body. And then I feel like when I really started to see the clear skin that I felt comfortable in was in my focus two. And that was the gut protocol, the most difficult one. Um, but I started not wearing makeup, which I had never done before. I feel like I never went out in public without makeup on. So that was just amazing to be able to do that. And I still can't believe that today I walked out of the house without makeup. And it just blows my mind that I'm able to do that because I truly never thought I would be able to. So that second focus, I would say it was probably around 3 to 4 months when I really started to see my skin, actually kind of glowing, matching, the rest of my skin a little bit more. I had a lot of acne scars and I still have some, but I feel like those have faded as well too. And since, I mean, I really haven't had any breakouts in the last couple months, I would say. Maybe if I do, it's just like one or two. And in the past, if I had a breakout, sometimes they would last for weeks and they would never go away. And I remember telling Jenna, okay, I got this breakout, but it was gone in a couple days. They heal so much faster than they used to if I do get those breakouts. Um, and sometimes I still catch myself feeling my face in the morning, like, did I get it?
Just instinctively. And you're like, wait a minute, it's clear. Never mind.
Now it just feels, I feel so good walking out of my house. I put some tinted SPF on and I can just go and feel comfortable in my skin. So about halfway through the program was when I really started to feel that turning point. And now I'm able to go out and feel confident in my own skin.
Lauren, I'm just like, that's just like the end all be all of what I love to hear is that you had the confidence back, right? Because it's not just about clearing your skin up, it's about truly giving you the confidence in your life because we know that confidence shows up in every role we play as a mother, as a wife, as your job as a teacher. Like when you have that confidence, everything
Yeah, and
shifts.
I will never forget the way that I used to feel avoiding events, not wanting to go places. I would tell my husband, like, my skin looks terrible. I don't feel like going. I don't want to go places. And I'm realize how much I missed out on, how many relationships, that I missed that connection with because I was so self-conscious about my skin. So now I feel more free. I feel like I can live my life again.
Mm, I love that. And outside of the skin, we got to ask about the non-skin wins. Did you have any other different symptoms or, things you had just accepted as being normal happen as a result of you working on your
My
health?
main symptom was really my skin. But I was also a little irritable more with my kids, just kind of snippy sometimes. And I feel like that has really improved. And my sleep was better. I was sleeping pretty good before, but I feel like once I was on that second protocol, I was sleeping so much better, sleeping soundly. So that was definitely a big win.
And there's a copper clearance right there where you would have thought it was PCOS because spironolactone did so well. And that's usually a lot of people's indication that, oh, it might be androgens. So, oh, love, buy copper, see ya.
Those women that are sitting there listening right now that are in your shoes where you were, what advice would you give to them?
If you're stuck and you've done all the things and you're feeling the way that I have described, just depressed, not like yourself, you have to get someone else to help you. You have to take that leap because having that guidance and seeing other women who have also struggled with that is such a big boost of like I can do this. There's going to be some struggles, but once you get into it, you really can set your mind to it and it's possible. It sounds scary, giving up all the things that you love that all these other people eat. Sounds crazy, but once you see those results, like it makes you not want to eat that way again. I would really encourage you to, reach out to Katie. Just try it. I know it sounds scary, um, but you can do it. You really can, and the results are just so worth it. And you feel better. You won't regret it.
Lauren, thank you so much for sharing that, for sharing your journey, for letting us be a part of your journey as well. We're always so eternally grateful to get to be a part of anyone's health journey. So
Thank
thank you so
you.
much. All right, everybody, another fun-filled episode here on the podcast. We will see you again next week.